Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fall for Turf Festival at Gulfstream Park West. Easy for me to say, our penultimate week here at Gulfstream Park West, Pete. We're going to start the day with a fast track. Good turf course. Had some rains over the evening, so the turf course will be started as good. I want to tell you about that. We got one carryover today, and it's in the Rainbow Six, and it starts in race number 5, and it's over $22,000 this afternoon. So the Rainbow Six, $22,000, races 5 through 10, $22,143. How you going, Pete?
Doing pretty good. As you said, penultimate week, always a bittersweet time of the year for me. But the good news is we're marching forward to the 2015-16 Champions Meet, which begins with the claiming crown on Saturday, December 5th.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun this year, as it is every year across town for the championship meet. But we still got 9 days here to go. And as I mentioned, we got a fast main track, a good turf course. Let's see what's tweeting around the country. And the first one I'm going to talk about is our sister track, Laurel. It's a really interesting article. If you want to go back and look at it, South Sinatra retweeted it. It's about what they're doing at Laurel Park. Laurel, it is really nice what they're doing. They're putting in a walking ring like we have at Gulfstream Park. They're doing all these different things to help the fans, and it's been working. Plus, I was reading this article, Pete, and there's a train station now that stops right at Laurel Park.
Yeah, and they said that that's supposed to go from D.C. all the way down, too, so that'll be another great convenient factor for our sister facility up north.
And talking about turf course, that's my favorite looking turf course. It is so big. They turn into that first turn on the turf. It is gigantic. So lots of fun racing, and all the improvements that they made this year have been doing well. The other thing I wanted to talk about is something from the turf publicists, and they gave the big sport of turfdom to American Pharoah. Are you in the turf publicist?
I am, actually.
Did you vote?
No, I did not.
I knew that was the answer already going into it. Turf publicist, well-deserved. American Pharoah and the connections of American Pharoah made this year, this whole last year in horse racing, lots of fun and a good award for them. So that's what's tweeting around the country today, Pete. We got a 10-race card. First race is 6 furlongs.
Yeah, 6 furlongs for 2-year-olds. We have a filly taking on the boys in here, so we'll cue up the replay for you in just a moment. Number 6, High End Queen, pulled out all the stops as a heavy favorite last time out. You're going to take a look at her last effort in just 1 second. High End Queen was heavily favored against fillies. Now she tries boys at a similar level. We'll see how it translates here today. High End Queen comes off the top of the turn at 2-5. Awesome Challenge got a soft opening quarter, so you were wondering if she would kick back. High End Queen did not actually put the field to sleep, though. She still had to work to hold the lead. It was a late run from a Monmouth Invader and White Knuckle Ride. You know that I was sweating that, Ronnie, with the Monmouth Invader involved. But High End Queen gets the job done at 2-5. She showed a different tactic. She showed that she could stalk a little bit and got the victory there. Now, she only beat the fillies by a length. Your question for you is very simple. Do you think she can handle the hike to the boys today?
Well, she became the only 2-time winner in the field. She's had 6 races with 2 wins, a second and third. You saw her there dueling early, and she shook free late. But you mentioned it, Peach. That was a $16,000 level. Only adds to the appeal today. I think that was 20 against the fillies, $16,000 today. So I just thought number 6, High End Queen, would be a logical contender in there. The horse I put in second was the number 7, Nuke, and this one is stepping up today, Pete, to face winners after a game performance. Produced a $25,000 maiden victory as the odds-on choice. Trainer George Navarro winning races here from 46 to 50%. It changes each and every day. Eddie Castro going for 2 in a row.
Well, there's a lot of speed signed on in here, Ron, and I think that Nook is well situated for the tactical way this race will shape up. Nook will be coming from off the speed. High End Queen will need to come from off the speed to offer her best charge. And then the outside horse, who's currently favored, was your other play in the race, the 8 horse. Flashing Light.
Yeah, this one dropping to the 16 level after stalking early. Flattened out a little bit. Finished 4th in that race at this distance. That was $25,000 down to $35,000 claimers respectively. Both those races. Larry Pilati, Paco Lopez handling what should be a nice outside stalking trip today. I don't know if this horse has to be on the lead to win it, but I think it'll carve out a nice stalking trip in there.
I agree with that. We'll move now to the second race, which starts the 50-cent early pick 4. Maidens take to the turf course at 1 mile, $35,000 the claiming level here. And the key with this race is, do you take the usual suspects, as a lot of these fillies and mares have been racing against each other, or do you go with the fresh faces? We do have a scratch of one of those fresh faces. Number 2, the World We Know, has been withdrawn, but that also means that the also eligible gets in. So that would be the number 10. It's all about the chase, who remains in as a main track only. Obviously, if it doesn't rain, and it doesn't look like it's going to, she will come out as well. So it'll leave us with a field of 8 in this race. And Ronnie, which way did you go in here?
I went with the 5, Key d'Oro, who's turning back to a mile after making a 5-wide bid to come within a length of exiting the maiden ranks against this same caliber of competition. Marcus Vitale, Matthew Rispoli, it's a daughter of Medaglia d'Oro. Just thought this was a logical contender in the second race. On the morning line at 5-1, I put the 3, Gabby's Kitten, in second. Cutting back in distance today, Pete, after surrendering a late lead to finish third. A nose behind Key d'Oro. If I like one, I think I had to use the other. Their recent clash last time out at a mile in the 16th. I think the rematch will be fun to watch.
Well, it'll be interesting. I was talking about the usual suspects. You picked them both, Key d'Oro and Gabby's Kitten. They've had opportunities to win races, but they're just one of those horses that have not got that breakthrough effort yet. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get it, or if it'll be a more likely raced horse, like maybe the 7-horse Brightly Mine, who you used third, been off a long time for Dave Fox. Layoffs is not exactly Dave's specialty, but this horse appears to be well meant today.
Yeah, hasn't been seen in a while, as you mentioned, dropping to the $35,000 level. So that's a first little bit of a red flag. The long layoff, of course, showing promise on the turf at last year's championship meeting against $75,000 maidens. David Fawkes, as you mentioned, the trainer has the daughter of Discreetly Mine, training pretty good. First start, but 9 months.
Right. Well, that's the start of today's 50-cent early pick 4. We'll move to the third race of the afternoon. Back to the main track we go. We're in for $6,250. Scratch number 2, Suaveberry, who looked like a live contender in this race. So a field of 6, so no super high 5 opportunity in this race. However, you do have plenty of super high 5 opportunity the rest of the way. This was a tricky race, Ron. I didn't know how exactly to approach it. From a tactical standpoint, which direction did you head?
I went with the 6, Elnat, the only 3-time winner in the field. 14 previous races with those 3 wins. Dropping into the condition claiming ranks, tracked the action last time out, finished 4th. That was against $6,250 open claimers at the distance, Rodolfo Garcia, Rafael Hernandez, and I like a 3-time winner. I like the fact going back to the condition claiming ranks, and I just think the class drop here, whether you believe it or not, is the number 6, Elnat, to win.
Well, I think from a pace standpoint, you probably have a good point. It's interesting that your second and third picks both have similar tactics. So my question to you is very simple. Does Tormented d'Oro get hooked by Io Inez? Is it the other way around? Or can one sit off the other?
Well, I picked them in the second and third spots for that reason. I think they might end up, doing harm to each other in the race, and maybe setting it up perfectly for Elnat. Tormented d'Oro stretching out to a 2-turn mile after setting the pace, fading in the stretch to finish last. That was against Similar, going 6.5 furlongs. This is the daughter of Benny the Bull. She's good at this distance. A previous win in 4 starts. I think that's the controlling speed in there. She could be the dangerous one going on the front end because, with the stretch out around a mile after showing speed going shorter, she looks like the logical one. The 7, Ionas, this one is dropping to this level after showing its usual early speed when breaking slow, failing to show its usual early speed last time out against conditioned claimers on the turf. It never won on a fast track. Won once in the slop and once on the that stuff up at Presque Isle, whatever they call it.
Pita.
Tapita. At Presque Isle, I call it polytrack, so I don't know what each one has a different surface in it. I don't like that stuff anyway, so I used that one in third. Did not have this one on the ticket. Actually had Suaveberry on the ticket. Was forced to add the morning line favorite in here. So I'm really hung with the 6 and the 3 in here.
Well, the key with Io Inez is you're going to have to decide which end of the form cycle she's on. She's tumbling in class. She continues to tumble, and as you touched on, she has not shown a real good affinity for conventional dirt. She did win in the slop across town at Gulfstream Park, but she was controlling speed that afternoon, and it was a fairly suspect cast.
Yeah, so I'm going to really go with the 6 in there as my top selection in the race, and because of the speed duel I see. Okay.
Well, race number 4 on the program is at a mile on turf. It's $20,000 maiden claiming tag, and it looked like on paper it was a 2-horse contest. Ron, you used both of those 2 horses. The question is, does Tequesta Storm improve off the second start off the layoff, and what happens with Dispersion? He regressed off his second start off the layoff. Who gets the better of who in this race?
Well, I think the drop is going to help Dispersion there. This one is dropping to this $20,000 level. Finished third and second, respectively, in a pair of local $35,000 maiden turf races at the distance. Simple handicapping logic. You should know about this. Points this gelded son of Arch out as the one to beat in this spot.
Well, simple handicapping logic? What is that? Third start off an extended vacation? Is that your logic there?
No, yeah, that's exactly it. Number 1, Tequesta. I'm just having fun, folks. They should be primed and ready to show more after returning from an almost 8-month layoff to finish second as the favorite at this level and distance. Michel Nihe has Luca Barinch named to handle the inside post this afternoon.
Yeah, this horse might be the controlling speed in here, especially if he improves on his race last time out. He didn't lose to the best horse in the world, Caballero First. Came back to run pretty sour against non-twos, but Tequesta Storm should be better this time than he was the last time.
Well, number 3, Running on Guinness, turning back to a mile. Here's the one I put on my trifecta ticket in the drop. Dueling through the stretch, got beat only 3/4 length, but was 22-1 last time out against this level of competition that was going 1 mile and 1/16.
We'll turn our attention now to race number 5. It starts today's Rainbow Six. Rainbow Six begins today at 7 furlongs over the main track, and it begins with a race that has 3 horses in it that have won 2 of their last 3 races. Interestingly enough, all 3 of those horses lost their last race, and one of the horses that you used, Royal Knowledge, he's won 2 of his last 4, but he also lost last time out as the betting favorite.
Well, I got my best bet in here today, and that is the 2 Starship Verdict, and I'll tell you why. Dropping to the $12,500 level, turning back to 7 furlongs on the main track after dueling for the lead and fading late against $16,000 condition claimers, going around 2 turns on the turf. That was at 7.5 furlongs. Diane Marici has Luca Panici in the saddle, handling the turf to dirt, route to sprint angle. Love this angle, showing speed, going 7/8, showing speed, going long on the grass, turning back to 7/8 on the main track. A lot of people think this horse will be on the lead, be stalking, and I'm going to get a little bit of a price in there with the number 2 Starship Verdict. I believe 8-1 on the morning line.
He's one of those 3 horses that has won 2 of his last 3 races. He tried to take on East Rock last time out, who was a sharp horse for the Gustavo Delgado Shedro. It was not going to happen for him. He's back in against a different field here today. Another horse that has won 2 of his last 3 races is the number 8, You Can't Stop Me. He made the bottom of your ticket. He was awful last time out, but he's been laid up since. Was there something amiss there, do you think?
Well, yeah, something wrong with him. You know, he's dropping to this $12,500 level. First start since a solid campaign, both at Gulfstream and Tampa, in which he won 50% of his races. He had 8 races with 4 wins in the second, including back-to-back $16,000 optional claiming scores at Gulfstream. But that was during May, and he's never lost at this 7 furlong distance, and that's one of my key angles. I was joking around. I love horses that are proven commodities at 7/8 of a mile. This one, perfect 2 for 2.
Here's a horse that has not been proven at 7/8 of a mile. He cuts back after running well, going a mile. Number 4, Royal Knowledge.
Yeah, he really likes the track. He's a bit of a horse for course. Plays at 3 races here, 2 wins and a second. And Mike Petro just having an excellent meeting, and right up there near the leading trainers. He might be 1 back, so a good barn. I threw that one on the ticket.
Well, the 50-cent pick 5 begins with race number 6 this afternoon. It was a tough sequence over the weekend. We'll start here on the turf for $16,000. These are fillies and mares taking on the non-winners of 2 category. This was a race on paper that looked like it was pretty tricky, Ron. The number 9 horse, Gold Celebrity, one of the best form horses in here, but she's also not very reliable, but that seems to be the story with this non-winners of 2 race.
Yeah, I went with Summer Chanton here, stepping up to the next level after responding to a substantial drop in competition with that $20,000 maiden victory, going 7.5 furlongs here last time out. It's Todd Pletcher. Edgard Zayas going for 2 in a row. I found this race to be pretty wide open, so I went with that angle. A recent maiden winner there, Todd Pletcher Barn. It's already got 11 victories here, just 2 behind the leaders. He hasn't been here as long as some of the other trainers, so the barn is really heating up. Summer Chant on top of my ticket. You mentioned Gold Celebrity stretching out to a mile today after shifting out at the 8 pole last time out. Finished third against this level of competition, going 7.5 furlongs. As daughter of Bernstein, benefit today from that outside draw.
And another thing to keep in mind with the number 3 horse in there, Summer Chant, the second place horse, Right On Ready, was claimed by that race and came right back to win. So that flatters the effort of the number 3 horse in race number 6 to start your pick 5. Ron, the question is do you spread in this race or do you pare it down a little bit?
I'm going to use all 3 in here. I wasn't really, I picked the 3 Summer Champ, but I wasn't sold on it. But that's the way I went. I also used the 4 Diana's Daisies, making her first start since shipping into Gulfstream from Presque Isle and finishing a well-meant second, I thought, beating only 3/4 of a length on the turf at this level and distance. Chad Stewart, Jose Caraballo handling the local return. This horse was here in the past and didn't run badly. We'd ship it down from Presque Isle.
Well, Chad Stewart is certainly one of the under-the-radar conditioners here in all of Florida, really, because even when he ships over to Tampa in a couple of weeks, those horses won't take any money either. But if you're me, you're always the president of the Chad Stewart fan club. So he has 2 in here today, another one a little bit later on. Speaking of later on, let's look at today's 50-cent late pick 4. It starts with race number 7, maiden fillies at the 3/4-mile trip. 2 scratches in here, scratch 2 first-timers, the 3 Namautu and the 7 Maria. They're both out. So it's a field of 8 in here, and in this race we have a replay to show you, and it's a good replay too. Glad to see we can show it, of number 8, Amy's Image. She was the one last time out, and in any other scenario she probably wins easy. She was very, very much a tactical disadvantage. She didn't want the lead, but she kind of was put there, and that's her down toward the inside. Artie's Bourbon Girl was heavily favored. Artie's Bourbon Girl moves up on the outside of Amy's Image, and then down the far outside is Street Smoke. That's the 4 horse under Eder Martinez. Amy's Image puts away the favorite and then gets run down by this big long shot in the race. The number 4, Street Smoke, nails her right on the money.
Yeah, and I just thought Amy's Image off that performance last time out and against the level of competition in here today certainly is the one to beat, again, from the Todd Pletcher barn, and that's the reason I wanted to show you that race. A pretty good performance, albeit it was on that sealed sloppy track.
Well, the horse that was 3rd in that race was also in that back track, Artie's Bourbon Girl. She came back to run on turf, tried 2 turns. It didn't look like on paper she wanted 2 turns, and it played out that way on the racetrack. She has an inside gate for this afternoon's 7th race. I think the key with Amy's Image, and I think she might be a horse that you can get involved around as far as singling in your late pick 5. She just has to get outside and try to take a trail. She was buried down in there from the 1 hole. She didn't want to be where she was, but she was part of a contentious pace last time out.
Well, number 10, Ring Knocker, going to the outside, is the daughter of Burnstone, making her first start since running so-so on that unique Aqueduct winterized in a track last winter. Tom Albatrani, Rafael Hernandez handling turn back to what looks like going to be her preferred distance, going shorty here at this 6 furlong distance. She's a horse I'm not quite sure could win, but one of the horses I like to have on the Super High 5 ticket, the rolling Super High 5 ticket. So I threw this one in second, along with, in third, Pete, I used Elizabeth Aurora, now in the Fernando Abreu barn. This is the daughter of Two-Step Salsa. Going to add blinkers today, showed speed, gave way late, and back-to-back sprints at the distance. Eddie Castro gets that riding assignment.
Elizabeth Aurora was another horse that came out of the backtrack we showed you, but she had packed it in by the time we queued it up there. So 3 horses coming out of that same race: Artie's Bourbon Girl, Elizabeth Aurora, and the likely favorite, Amy's Image.
Going back, Pete, all the races that we had here on sealed sloppy tracks, has speed been the prevailing theme? Is that what you've seen?
Actually, no. I think that the speed horses have been a little bit up against it when the track is sealed. I don't understand why that is.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be, right?
Yeah, but I think the race that we showed you, that backtrack there, what we didn't show you down the backside is everybody except Street Smoke was part of the pace.
Right.
The pace wasn't all that fast, but who cares? They're still contentious. They're stacked 4 and 5 across the racetrack. Takes the starch out of a lot of the speed. You saw Amy's Image battled back on the inside of the favorite. Favorite had every opportunity to kick on, and Amy's Image had more bottom. So all she has to do is run back to that race, and she should be very, very tough. Race 8 on the program, 7.5 furlongs over the turf course. Turf course, again, is good here this afternoon in Miami Gardens. These are maiden claimers in at the $35,000 level. We have 2 scratches here. Scratch the 1, Perfidio. Scratch the 11, Thuristic. The 13, Grand Tapoy gets in. Jose Garofalo won with the horse off the also-eligible list last week. We'll see if he can do it again with Grand Tapoy, who ran well in his turf debut. A lot of unknown commodities in here, though, Ron. Did you settle on an unknown commodity or a horse that has some proven form?
Well, I went with the number 10 in here, and that is Totally Evil. This one beat the nose at the distance back on October 12th, turns back, stalked the pace. Against the bias, I believe, last time out. Weakly late to finish at distance 6 when blinkers were added for its last start. Expect improvement today with second-time shades, and I think this horse has to get off that pace. Still looks to me, Pete, like the turf courses favoring horses that like to run from off the pace.
Yeah, I definitely think so. It's been one of those courses where you haven't been able to come from dead last, with a few notable exceptions, but you also had to have been much the best horse to win on the lead. And so if you can take a trail on this turf course, it's definitely the way to go. At some point, though, the jocks are probably going to get wise to this, and then it'll turn into chess match racing where nobody will want the lead and nobody will want to be too far back, so they'll be separated by 4 and 5 lengths, and then the best trip will win it.
Another question to you, because you get to watch all these races. Today we have the turf course with a little bit of cut in it. It's listed as good. How's that played most of the time?
Well, if it was Gulfstream Park, it would be completely different, but here at Gulfstream West, I don't think it matters at all, because the course is just going to be that much more of a problem for the horses that are on or near the lead, because they'll have to have that much more bottom to them. Speed doesn't carry as well on this turf course as it does at Gulfstream Park. So a lot of times at Gulfstream Park, speed got carried. The horses would not necessarily be the best ones, but they would be where they needed to be turning for home, and then the closers were up against it. Here, it's kind of a role reversal.
Well, number 4, El Globo, is the other horse I put on my ticket along with the 5, Disco Bill. El Globo is turning back slightly after responding to a drop in competition with an improved 4th place finish against $35,000 maidens going a mile. Louis Duco is the trainer. Marcos Menendez in the saddle this afternoon. And I close it out with Disco Bill. And I really, this one is a New York bred son of Disco Rio out of a Concord's Tune mare, Prairie Melody. Concord's Tunes, New York breds on the grass. It's a known good commodity.
Yeah, but I always think of Concord's Tune horses as wanting to sprint on the grass. I don't necessarily think them that much going long. 7.5 furlongs on the turf is kind of that tweener distance for horses that can't get up going 5/8 and maybe don't need to run a mile, as it were. But this is a tricky race, it looked like on paper to me. I think that if you're playing the pick 5, would you agree that you want to make sure that you take a trip to Spread City here?
Yeah, definitely go to Spread City here. We're talking about the 5 Disco Bill. He's been working. He's got a string of low workouts showing at Gulfstream, Belmont, Saratoga. And this one, 12 to 1 in the morning line, and I think you watch this one, see how the tote action goes. That's to bet the race. And beforehand, I think a horse like this, you have to throw in the ticket just to save your, your rolling super high fives or whatever exotic wager you are betting.
Great betting opportunity. Race 8 on today's program on turf to start the late pick 3. It's the third leg of your late pick 5 wager, and of course the fourth leg of the Rainbow 6 as well. Race 9 on the card is the Wednesday feature. Allowance Fillies going a mile over the fast main track. Ron, this is the return of a horse that I'm very much a fan of. I think that she's a very, very talented racehorse. She was stakes tested against graded variety. Some of the best in the country ran against this horse. And the question is, how does she handle her return to South Florida? We're talking about the one horse, Danessa Deluxe.
Yeah, we're going to go back and show you performance of this horse running last year in the Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Oaks. She had the lead turning for home, Pete, in here, and ran very well. And she just got swallowed up at the end by 2 really nice horses in there. Bird on the Wire and Eskin for Money. So this horse, graded 2 stakes placed, ran very well in this race. I thought coming back for a barn that had a horse similar to this come back the other day, and that's George Navarro, and just run lights out.
I'm assuming you're referencing XY Jet.
Yeah, right.
That is exactly what I was thinking. Danessa Deluxe is a horse that I got to see last summer and winter here at Gulfstream Park, and you got to see her all summer and winter long. The thing about her that I love so much is that she's not afraid of trouble. She's not afraid of traffic. She's really not afraid of anything. If you want to get her in trouble and you think that you can take the heart out of her with this filly, it doesn't happen. She's very, very game and very, very game to do whatever you want on the racetrack as well.
And, you mentioned XY Jet. When XY Jet was getting ready to make its return, showed 2 back-to-back bullet workouts, and it's exactly what this horse is doing, coming back with back-to-back bullet workouts locally right over this track in preparation for this assignment. Got 7-2 on XY Jet. You're not getting 7-2 to here today on this horse, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. But the question is, if she loses, does she lose to the Wolfson import, who's never been in South Florida, the number 5 Cali Star, taking her game around 2 turns again for the first time since August?
You mentioned she stretches out to a mile. She's had 4 races at a mile. She's run very well. She's had 3 seconds in the third, but the big goose egg in the win column there never recovered last time out from a slow start. It was a really good $60,000 optional claimer. It was in the slop at Keeneland, produced next out stakes winner in there, $100,000 stakes winner in Michelle, Marty Wilson. He's 30% with horses stretching out in distance, but this is one of those guesses that you have to make in these type of races. And also another one from Marty Wilson is the 4 Curlin's Princess. This one is stepping up the competition after responding. First race of the mile, albeit a one-turn mile at Gulfstream with a solid score over next out winner Kinsley and there. Curlin's loved the distance. I knew this horse was going to run well, but that was in the past over at Gulfstream Park when it stretched out.
Well, that was my question. The breeding says that she wants 2 turns. Do you think that 2 turns will help her here today?
I think so. I really do. And that's the way, but I'm, like you, want to see Danessa Deluxe come back.
Race number 10 on the card. It is the Wednesday finale over the turf course at 5 furlongs. Maiden claimers in for a $50,000 claiming tag. Scratch the 3 Song Memory. She ran on Sunday. Also scratch the 13 Convertible. So it's a field of 11. Guessing game galore, it looked like on paper. A lot of first-time starters, a lot of horses with only one race that's really not that bad. This is another race where, based on the Rainbow 6 sequence and the Pick 5 sequence, maybe Danessa Deluxe and Amy's Image are your keys, and then this is another race where you'll have to go to Red City.
Yeah, you got to go very deep here. I had a tough time with this race. I did end up with the 10 Blazing Diamonds dropping to this level of $50,000 after finishing third. It was a pretty good maiden race, a special weight sprint. Produced 2 next out winners from only 4 starters. She's on the outside, got a scratch to her inside, which will help. And this one on paper, I thought was the logical choice in here, especially with the scratch of the 3 Song Memory, who's the morning line favorite in the race. From there, it's a little tough for me.
Yeah, it gets a little tough. You have horses like Chad Stewart's first-timer, Tasmanian Angel, Fernando Abreo's first-time starter, Saratoga Angel, and then on down toward the inside, Joe Orsino, who we know what he can do with good racehorses, with Vicente Goodell riding second-hand, draws the inside gate. And then you have a horse like Agave Sunrise, who's making her 3rd start after showing a little bit of speed last time out. She was well-regarded in her debut, did not run well, improved a little bit on a slight drop in class, now gets back on the turf. Just one of many ways you can go in this race.
Yeah, and one other horse I want to mention, just in passing, is the 6 Sky Cotton, who's dropping to this $50,000 level on the grass, cutting back to 5 furlongs. Chased the pace, finished 6 behind. A couple of next out winners in a maiden special weight race, was on the dirt going 6 furlongs. The concern, a barn, Jose Garofalo. Look at this stat. I wouldn't realize it until I read it. 0 for 23 with horses going from the dirt to the turf.
Well, the good news is you're talking about Sky Cotton. The bad news is you're trying to give the fans the wrong number. Sky Cotton is the 8 horse here this afternoon. Sky Cotton Ron's 3rd selection in the race is number 8.
I made a mistake
10-1
there.
on the morning line. One of those horses that we touched on that only run one time and did not run bad.
Yeah, I wrote the wrong number down. That is number 8. So my selections in the final race are 10, 12, and number 8, Sky Cotton. 6 and 8 look a little alike. What do you think?
Well, black and pink.
No.
Of course, that's the track announcer perspective.
Oh yeah, I can go by
5 and 12, 5 and 12, 3 and 9, 1 and 14. Those are.
I could never do your jobs. I can readily admit that right out. So what do you think? It's going to be a beautiful day. We've got a nice breeze here, fascinating track. The turf is good, but we got a pretty